We've been hearing a lot about carding in Toronto recently. Everyone here is talking about it, including the mayor and the police chief. Even the province is stepping into the fray.
There's a lack of clarity about the rules that govern some of these interactions.
But if you don't live here, you might be wondering, exactly what is carding? Carding is a Toronto term for the practice of police stopping people on the street to take down information. The stop isn't to arrest the individual and doesn't even necessarily lead to any kind of ticket. It's simply about the gathering of personal information. Carding refers to the card itself, which is called a field information report or a contact card. The officer has it, fills it out with information including your name, race, physical attributes, and location, and files it into a database. This practice can be called street checks elsewhere. Regardless of what it's called, it's very contentious. Activists say it's a violation of a person's rights for police to stop them without cause. So, does this happen in other cities?
It's hard to know what is happening exactly in policy across Canada because many police procedures are not publicly available. The practice of police officers stopping people, recording their information, putting it into a database, yes, happens across Canada.
The Toronto Police Service has a clear anti-racism policy, but critics say that carding is racial profiling.
We're dealing with anti-Black racism. Please don't provide us any more pablum around bias-free policing.
That's Desmond Cole, a journalist and activist in Toronto. He's been stopped 50 times. When his Toronto Life story was published this spring, it got everyone talking about carding with more urgency because his story made it personal. Carding isn't a new problem, nor is it unique to Toronto, but media here have dug up some numbers. It had already been reported by the Toronto Star that between 2008 and 2011, hundreds of thousands of individuals were carded, and that Black people were overall 3.2 times more likely to be stopped than white people. Toronto police have defended the practice, calling it a necessary tool for community policing, and they say carding is not targeted.
There's no reason for an officer to think that I'm involved in a crime when he's pulling me over.
Nia Singh is a law student and anti-carding activist. Okay, so you've never had any kind of criminal interaction with the police, and yet you've been stopped how many times?
Been stopped about 30 times. It's hard to say because not every stop is recorded in the database. When I just first started driving at the age of 16 is when I first started getting stopped, and that's continued throughout my life. But what is really concerning is when those stops, they become a little more aggressive. Like the claims of being on an immigration warrant, the threats from officers to detain me in handcuffs until they find out whether I'm in an immigration issue.
Do you have an immigration issue?
I was born here, so I can't have an immigration issue.
After continually getting pulled over, Singh applied to find out what information was on those cards.
I'm listed in the database as born in Jamaica on 2 separate occasions. I'm born in Toronto. I'm listed of having an immigration warrant. I'm listed as being rude to police, not police friendly. I'm listed as being 8 feet tall, 141 pounds. So,
I'm sorry, 8 feet tall just makes me laugh.
well, with the 141 pounds, it's even funnier, right?
Hey, when it comes to carding, you have to find your last where you can. But Singh does take the issue seriously, enough to challenge the constitutionality of carding.
They call it a valuable intelligence tool, but what it's doing, it's violating human and charter rights.
This debate isn't over, far from it. Chief Saunders does say that there's a moratorium on using the data collected via carding, and critics want that data destroyed, but Chief Saunders says it isn't possible. What will happen to that data, and how could it possibly be used in the future? When it comes to carding, it seems that there are more questions than answers.